Digital IDs, they're making life easier for people at work and at play, but they're also security concerns, and that is why there's a referendum coming up here in Switzerland. What's the state of play now, and how is artificial intelligence impacting digital IDs? Well, let's take a look at some of the highlights of this Euronews debate. These digital IDs, if it's done right, it should be empowerment, shouldn't it?
It should be empowerment for individuals like us to move self-determined through the digital space and to stay in control. And that's one of the key aspects. Privacy, besides privacy by design and the data minimization principles to ensure that everyone has control over their data and who they share it with and in what context.
Right. Let me move to Agnieszka because for any business, I think it means cost efficiency, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think our business is also very particular because we are a very highly regulated industry and we sell our products only to legal age consumers.
Age, yeah.
So obviously we want to make sure that our products end up in the hands of the right people. So adults, basically. And obviously e-ID can absolutely help to make this age verification process robust enough. It can help to also mitigate the risk of human error in checking the age.
Right.
It definitely helps us as a company when we have direct contact with our consumers, but also all the business partners that work with us that are involved in the sales of our products, so tobacco and nicotine containing products. So obviously this is also legal liability and the compliance, and this is absolutely the solution that helps us to address it in a as robust as possible manner.
How does it help you save money? How does it improve the bottom line?
It's the time that we spend on the verification, identification of our consumers, but also on our customers in terms of the business transactions that we do as well. So it's time, it's money, it's efficiency. So there are only the benefits. And obviously, I think you mentioned also the European digital identity wallet. So the moment when these systems are interoperable, obviously this helps us a lot also in terms of cross-border transactions, business transactions.
Okay, we've talked about the benefits for consumers, for businesses, but let's take a closer look at consumer protection, security, data privacy, and what are the regulations that set the rules for that? Karim, on the Swiss ID, can we take a look at that a little bit more? How is the tryout? Because I think it started in March.
Yeah.
How is that working?
There is a wallet, it's called Swiu, which you can download and try. And there's open interfaces where you as a business, you can do proof of concept with some basic, let's say, functionalities and use cases. But yeah, key will be the adoption at the end of the day. So first, let's hope that we get a positive vote in September. But I'm confident there because all the points which were criticized in 2011 were basically taken on. But if we look at the e-ID, what people see is the wallet, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, from that perspective, it's nothing else than your physical identification document, but digital. But what's under hood is actually what makes it special. So there's an entire trust infrastructure that is being built, which allows you then to enrich your e-ID, because my identity is not just what I have on my passport, but it's also my degrees, my journalist pass and so on. And you want to be able to choose when you share this information with whom, and the other party needs to be able to trust that, and that needs an entire infrastructure. But the big but is not everyone will have an e-ID, not everyone will have it from day one. There's still other methods, phishing, social engineering, and so on, to get access to your data, to access your accounts, and so on. It has become so easy to generate fake documents, fake faces, deep fakes. So this is where we are developing new technology to detect those, independent of an infrastructure or a wallet or an app that's being used. Because nowadays you don't know, we could be deepfakes now, streaming through Euronews.
Yeah,
no one knows.
The avatar.
Right? Except the people here in the room, they know.
And I think that's exactly the reason why we have to build that fortress for individuals to actually stay in control of the data that we are able to share in the digital world. So that wallet that Karim spoke about is that digital fortress that we built for every single one in Switzerland in a way that preserves privacy. You can decide based on the transaction how much information you convey, and also the privacy by design and privacy by default principles ensure that you cannot be tracked. In certain cases, you might reveal your name, but in certain cases, you might just reveal +18.
Yes.
Right.
And Switzerland makes sure that even those technical identifiers cannot be tracked from one service to the other.
And look,
That's
just
important.
if I may add on top of what Daniel said, I think it's very important also for us as a business, because we need to handle certain type of the data that consumer is sharing with us. So obviously, the more safeguards that we are talking about, the better for us as well, because this ensures the compliance on our side as the business operator. So it's critical.
Agnieszka, on the regulatory compliance, do you think it's too tough? I mean, on the European level, there's a Digital Services Act,
Yes.
Digital Markets Act, General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR.
There's a lot of regulation. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And I hear this because I do a fair amount of activity in the
Yes.
European Parliament, and I
Yes.
hear some who say, well, it's just too tight. It's a straitjacket.
Yes and no. I think this is a testing moment. So because these are new technologies, so as we said, these things are being created. I mean, technology is advancing, so I think regulation is trying to catch up. So look, from the business point of view, obviously there needs to be, as I mentioned earlier, the necessary safeguards, because we need to operate as a compliant operator. So regulation is good in general, but I think Karim mentioned, I mean, there needs to be a balance, and imbalance definitely does not help. And probably we are going to talk about it later, but we need to think about the digital transformation and how much this regulatory imbalance is supporting that, or actually being an obstacle.
I think the risk-based approach that you can apply to regulation is one of the core elements. And I think Switzerland has a great history of creating very flexible regulatory frameworks. And I think the public vote should be on the starting point, and it should not be on a perfect system. And I think what we need to find is a solid foundation on which we can further evolve.
Yeah.
And through direct democracy, that's also ensured that public has a say.
As long as the direct democracy is not hijacked by disinformation, right?
Well, first of all, yes, is certainly an important aspect. But when you look at how democracy works in Switzerland, you have a direct democracy. Obviously, the referendum was called.
Yeah.
Now we are working up to the public vote in 28th of September.
Yes.
And for me, the dialogue cannot be open enough during that time, and we need to hear all sides.
And I think, I mean, all the doubt that is coming, I think is very legitimate. And I think we need to take it very seriously. And we need to address it in a proper way, listening to, what people in the referendum are raising.
Sure. Karim, what about this concept of self-sovereign, having control over your own data? I mean, there's only a certain extent that goes, but doesn't that help to build trust in the system?
Absolutely. When it comes to trust, when you start educating the people, the more you give them the feeling that they are under control of their data, and the more trust you can build, basically. So the e-ID was built with self-sovereignty as a philosophy, which is great. But obviously, it's still state controlled because they are the ones issuing your identity. So also there you have a certain balance. And if you want to go completely self-sovereign, you need to build it completely decentralized, which is also great from an idea perspective, but it's not practical. If you actively ask people whether they value their privacy and information, they say yes, absolutely, sure. And they will go and vote, for that idea. But in reality, after they go and vote, they go back, take a selfie, and upload it everywhere on social media, right? So it's very contradicting in that sense. The moment where this trust comes at the cost of convenience,
right?
The users, or the general public, will choose convenience.
Yeah.
So if we want to achieve adoption, we need to have a really good trade-off between this privacy and trust and the convenience.
Finally, trust and consumer digital literacy. How do we make that happen? What's the role of governments and of the private sector in ensuring that people are informed and not left behind? It's also a matter of digital literacy, right? Can you talk more about that, right, Agnieszka, maybe, in the role that business plays in digital literacy?
Well, I think, like as we said, I mean, the fact that we are sitting here, I think this is part of the educational effort, absolutely. So for us, it's important that all our customers and clients and consumers, they understand the importance and they understand what are the mechanisms behind identification of certain information, how much information they share, why it is used, for which purposes, etc. So I think this transparency that Daniel also mentioned is very important, because I think then you talk about like very objective grounds. Why do you need to collect this information? But I just wanted to add one thing to the discussion, because we are talking a lot about the benefits, but I think we also need to talk about what is the potential cost of rejection.
Yes.
And what is the lost opportunity, because we are talking about one element, but of the very big ecosystem. I mean, like identification is related to e-banking, e-voting, all the e-government services. So how much this will influence, I mean, the country lagging behind development of the technology. And I think this is part of the discussion that should be taking place.
I think e-ID can be seen as a trust anchor, as the first trust anchor on a more broader trust infrastructure that will allow the exchange of verifiable data.
Right.
And when we think about that, we can think about all of the processes within business, within government, within B2B, B2C, and various other business models that will benefit from the trust infrastructure that is being brought to the table by the Swiss government.
From a technical side, Karim, I mean, how do you think businesses are investing enough in cybersecurity, seeing that there are so many hacks happening?
Some do, some don't. But the thing is, nothing is unhackable, and the question is, what is the risk you're taking? What is the potential damage? Do you invest this last 10% to reduce that risk?
Right.
But I think the e-ID is a good thing there, because why do hacks or cyber attacks happen? Because there's something to get, right? Companies have huge data lakes, and data silos of all the information that they collect, although they don't necessarily need it. With the e-ID, the information is on your own device, and you only share it for that purpose at that point. Sure. I mean, this is at least the idea. There will still be a lot of data, but in that context, it reduces the need of keeping your own databases and data lakes and so on forever, which are basically a target.
But I think there is an opportunity to build a more resilient system moving forward. Because the internet was never built with trust and identities and security in mind. It was built as a knowledge exchange platform.
Right.
So the transactions that businesses and our entire society wants the internet to cover require a fundamental rethink on how the internet foundations are being done.
We have any questions out in the audience? Somebody would like to ask a question.
Another question regarding the adoption. I think we can all agree on that adoption is key and everything. But what do you think that the government or the public sector needs to do to drive this adoption in the population?
Look, I can just mention, I think adoption, as we discussed, education is critical. And I think, demonstrating various benefits, but also what I mentioned earlier, the cost of rejection and what does it mean for the country, and for if we don't adopt certain solutions, what does it mean for the country to be lagging behind? And I think the fact that the different stakeholders take part in it, because then you demonstrate the full picture. So it's not only one selected area of the solution, but really like the full scope of the benefit and the ecosystem.
It's like a toothbrush. It needs, we want to use it every day because it creates value and it's simple to use. That's how wallets need to be in the future. They need to create value in day-to-day interactions. And EU has taken a deliberate choice in regard to e-signatures being part of the UDI wallet ecosystems. Also payments being part of the EU wallet ecosystem. And those are drivers for adoption because they create value every day.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's about awareness, accessibility, and convenience.
Absolutely.
Right? People need to know about it. People need to see it everywhere when I log in or want to open a bank account, get a mobile subscription, order something online. So the organizations, they just need to implement it, right? So it's the accessibility. And then it needs to be convenient. It needs to be a value add for the end user at the end of the day. It needs to be easier than doing it differently.
That's it for the highlights of this Euronews debate. Be sure to check out the full conversation by clicking on the link in the description. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.